All right, y'all, we're going to go live today from the Baxley, Georgia. We're in Appling County, Georgia, and we're at the Smoke Timber Fest here with Daniel Patrick, Pops Smoke on the Hill, right?
That's
Competition and catering barbecue team. He's at Lyons, Georgia, which is about 20 miles.
20 miles.
Yeah, about 20 miles north of here, and it's a freaking beautiful day out here. I mean, we've got like 80-degree weather. Whoever ordered up the weather is on point. But at any rate, we're going to chat with Daniel here. So we always like to talk about journey. First and foremost, journey's a big deal to us. So let's talk about the journey. How did you get into this? First of all, how'd you get into barbecue? And then how'd you get into this craziness of competitive barbecue? So we're going to turn the phone here. There we go. Okay. Oh, it says I can't turn it while I'm recording. Okay.
Learn something.
Learn something new, so we're just gonna go like this. Here we go. So let's talk about journey.
Journey. I wish I had that story that you normally hear, where it was, me and my dad was out in the backyard cooking and stuff like that. Definitely wasn't the case. With my dad, it was his idea of barbecue was throwing some chicken on a Weber grill that had some tinfoil poked in it and cooking it till it was black. So I really didn't learn that much. Growing up, though. It was a really hard family life, so me and my dad didn't get to spend a lot of the time together. So then later on, I joined the military at 18, did that for a couple of years, and me and my dad reconnected, and that's where it all started. Something that me and him can do together, and that's just how I found it. I was fortunate enough to come through and get some really good sponsors through the years, and those came through mentors. And I always tell people, straight up, find you a mentor. That's what you always need. In the Navy, they teach about it all the time. So with everything else, find a mentor. And I was fortunate enough to find mine with Brad K. I found him in a parking lot. He was cooking under the cart tents that they have at Sam's Club. He was cooking up under that. Didn't even have a tent or anything, just him and his lane. And took me under his wing. And then didn't know him from a hill to Adam. And the next thing you know, come to find out, him and my cousin were best friends growing up in high school. And just ran into him randomly up in Chesapeake, Virginia. So that was my first barbecue mentor, and it just spiraled from there. I did my first contest in Lyons in the backyard. Got a first place rib call. I think it was sixth place chicken. I believe it was third place overall. First contest down there in the backyard. So. And after that, it's just been downhill from there, I guess, because it's been years and years just competing. That was in 2014.
So 2014, so about 7-8 years, and you heard him talk about family, you heard him talk about community, and just the whole idea of this support system. Yes, we're competitors. Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to beat each other. Of course, that goes without saying, but we also want to see each other climb, and I think you'll see that when you come to a competition, whether there's 30 teams, whether there's 300 teams, you'll see that community, that family atmosphere. And, I'm sure that it's happened, but I personally have never been told no when I've asked a question from any of these teams, So, again, it's more of a community, it's family, and at the end of the day, it's awesome for just folks and friends and family to get together over barbecue. So let's chat about that. Let's chat about, so you're obviously competing, Daniel, and outside of competing though, are you cooking? Are you catering? Are you doing anything like that?
Oh yeah, we cater. Usually we cater 3 times a year. 3 times that we usually cater at is in Lyons. So we will be catering in Lyons if the Navy lets me off work in time.
There you go.
Then that's of course that's what pays the bills right now. Then we'll be catering again in Daytona, Florida, for FBA. That's in November. I think November 18th and 19th. Mm-hmm. We've competed, but predominantly once we moved to Florida, we've competed predominantly pretty much on Florida. We go all over. It really doesn't matter as long as it's close to family. That's what it's all about. From there, we'll be catering again, and they have a little small thing called Christmas in Dixie for the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and they donate a whole bunch of stuff. I know last year I'm pretty sure they gave away like 20 families that they adopted and then paid for their whole Christmas. and provide all their meals and everything for the year, or for Christmas, that are needy for the year. So it's a really good thing. We go out there and support them, and that'll be in December 3rd, I believe it is.
Yeah, so you can begin to see all the cool things that's going on with barbecue, whether it's, Children's Hospital, whether it's another nonprofit. There's always something going on with competitive barbecue. And even down here in Baxley, Georgia, we're down in South Georgia, we've got 32 teams out here. We've actually got 2 of the top 10, top 8 teams in the country. We've got Smoke Me Silly. We've got, is Rooters and Tutors here?
I know they're on the list, but I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, so we definitely have Smoke Me Silly. They're number 6 or 7 in the country. So here we are in Baxley, Georgia. Beautiful location, and we've got some major players here. And that's what's cool for us. I don't know about you, Daniel, but for me, as a new competitor, being able to rub elbows with some of these elites, these legends that have built up over the time. So when you look in long term, what's the plan? How do you try to emulate some of those teams that are way out in front?
So way out in front, I think the biggest thing with that I learned, and that comes back from Brad. We were walking around, and I talked to a whole bunch of different people there. It was a regional contest for Sam's Club, which they don't have anymore, and talking with a lot of teams there, and it was there was a who's who that was there that year, and it was just a regular old just, hey, how you doing? The regular run of the mill, actually talking. And when I went up to Brad, I just stood there and was just watching what he was doing. I wasn't too, I didn't want to ask any questions or anything like that. And he had a whole bunch of people coming up to him and said, hey, can I try it? Can I try it? And of course, with KCBS, you're not allowed to do that. Give it out to the public. But then once everybody walked away, he's like, here, try this.
There you go.
And so after that, I knew there was something there. And so I try to do that now. Find that one person that's walking around and just be a good mentor. And like I said, I've been blessed to have those mentors. I just recently had another one that came on board, and that's Barbeque with Swamp Boys Barbecue.
There you go.
I took his class, and next thing you know, the only thing I did was I took his class and used his sauce in a contest, and got a first place brisket call.
Boom.
So and after that, it was game on. And he's anytime that I have any questions, I call him, and that goes to do anything about life or barbecue. It really doesn't matter. So, really good guys.
And that's the cool thing is that barbecue in a lot of ways is very similar to life. There's a lot of adversity. There's a lot of times when you have to adapt and overcome, and we even had to do that here today. Not having the right rubs, thinking that we had one or the other, and just adapting, overcoming, and moving on, because you have to accept sometimes that you don't have A, B, and C, and just simply move on, because that's your only option. I think that's one of the things that some of the greats in competitive barbecue do really, really well, much better than most of us, is that they're able to adapt and overcome. And so let's talk about that. Let's camp out on adapt and overcoming and how you go about training yourself. So I'm curious, Daniel, so let's hear from you, right? You're relatively new-ish in the competitive barbecue space. So let's chat about, how you go about adapting and overcoming.
The same way with adapting and overcoming, it's what I tell my kids all the time. We watch a lot of Bob Ross, and it's there are no mistakes. It's just happy accidents, and paint those happy trees. And with that, so and take it for what it is. If something does happen, like you said you left some rubs and stuff like that around. I didn't have them. Maybe you come up with a new profile, and that's what it's all about. Because I think anybody on the circuit will tell you that it's a tenderness game for one. Pretty much if you use any type of rub out there that's on the market, it's going to be good.
Right.
It's all the profiles are the same, but it's all about that last 10 minutes. Bingo. 10 minutes. Yep. It's all about how you finish. If that's just adding a little extra salt. And I'm a big proponent of Luke Darnell. He really talks about it a lot with salt. Don't think as salt as an extra ingredient. That's a binder. It binds the flavors together.
There you go. And that's a great point, is that you get so many of those pointers and so many of those little tips and techniques. And to Daniel's point, it is all about the last 10 minutes. Some of these professionals, some of these elites can tell you exactly the recipe that they're going to do, and they're still going to beat you. You're not going to be able to replicate it, because where they are going to win is in those last 10 or 15 minutes. And I think the ability to perform under pressure continues to be one of those skills that you have to sharpen in competitive barbecue in order to be successful. And so I'm curious, Daniel, how did you go about sharpening that skill, right? Performing under pressure consistently is difficult. So let's chat about how you went about sharpening that skill.
I think that comes too from my day job. Been in the military. We go through a lot of adversity. I always tell people that, one of the biggest things that the military will teach you is that you can be a bum and sleep anywhere, pretty much. I've slept in some places that and then also too, you're out to sea. Internet might go down, so you don't have access to your family like you normally would, and you're dealing with the people on a ship. You're talking about a small community that's confined. So it's I attribute a lot of that to that, and then having a good backbone with what everything was established on, working through that family, and then like I said, the mentors. If I have an issue, I know I can just call them at any time, and they'll say, "Hey, knucklehead, go back to the notes, because you're doing something that you weren't doing before."
All right, so you talk about the team, you talk about being able to lean on a lot of individuals, and I think it's important that we recognize it does take a team, it does take a village. Yep. And being in the military, you're used to working in a team environment where everyone has assigned duties. So on a barbecue team, it's not that much different.
No.
Right?
Not really.
Very similar. So let's chat about that, because you've got to set those expectations in a very big way, and you got to make sure that everybody on the team understands what everyone else is doing. Communication, setting expectations is key, but let's camp out on that with Daniel here about how he was able to adapt that and understand his duties and responsibilities, especially with your father, right? So it's a family deal. So let's chat about that.
My dad's always been the designated drinker, is what that is.
Oh.
So yeah, he's a designated drinker. You'll see him around here tomorrow.
That's funny.
He's a hoot. Use it, man. It's just me by myself, and having those my priorities in a row. Checklists. I have checklist, and following that timeline to a T. I know up until about a 5-minute spread of what I'm doing. So the duties and responsibilities there. I mean, really after that, it's Dad, whenever he goes to Cook's meeting, he does his time to see how long he's got to walk. The wife, whenever she gets to come around, because we got 2 beautiful little girls, which are fortunate enough to be here this weekend.
Okay.
So you'll see them running around and jumping in the pools. We got a pool down there this weekend.
How about that?
Yeah. So the duties and responsibilities, it kind of solely relies on me. I mean that's I think at the end of the day, I don't want to. I've always been kind of self-sufficient in that. And I did that a long time ago. That's the reason why I cook on a lane, because I didn't want to be stuck with not having any water or if the power goes out. I've had that before where I was cooking on Traegers at a competition, and next thing I know, the power went out. What am I going to do at that point in time? Because that's all they run off of. And just had to adapt and overcome. Luckily, then I had a Weber sitting there next to me. And I fired that thing up and got it roaring hot, and next thing you know, everything finished, and we ended up winning grand champion at that one. So just adapting and overcoming that aspect, and just like I said, I don't want to turn in a bad product. It's I like to have that rest on my shoulders and not anybody else's.
So basically what he's saying is, if you're the pitmaster, the buck stops with you. That's right. So if you're going to have that title, if you're going to claim it, learn the skill, get better at it, you got to be willing to accept when things go right and accept when things go not so right? So when things go wrong, you got to be willing to accept it. I think that's important for listeners and viewers to understand. When you are out here in the competitive world, you've got to be willing to take ownership, and that's super, super, super important. So another thing Daniel touched on, though, was this idea of family, and this idea of, he's got 2 girls and involving them in barbecue, and I've got 2 boys, and they love the idea of competing in barbecue, and I think that's another great aspect of this whole thing is, yes, you can compete, yes, you get to make friends, and You get to have good conversations, etc. But also watching the kids compete. So, Daniel, tell us about just watching your girls competing and what that means to you, and where you see that going in the future.
They, my youngest one, or my oldest one, she's 5. She hasn't been able to do a Kids Q yet. She's very excited about it, and she's very intrigued. Especially last weekend at the Swine at the Shrine.
Yeah.
She was watching the little girl from Q Nut.
Yes, she won.
And
yeah.
she won. And she's like, "Daddy, I want a trophy like that."
There you go.
So, with her, she's gonna get up in there. Right now, I'm actually on her grill, as she calls it. I got a little Traeger 34 that I'm cooking my Boston butt on for People's Choice tomorrow. And she's all excited when she showed up because she's like, "Oh, you're cooking on my grill," and so she's really excited about that. I foresee her, my oldest. She's probably going to get into it. My little one, she's a little rambunctious, so she's only 2. We'll see how she goes with that. She likes to make sauce in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really big proponents. So we cook in the kitchen all the time. So not only just barbecue at home.
Okay.
It's I work during the week in Jacksonville, and then drive down to Daytona on the weekends. So on the weekends we try to jam pack everything.
He's a busy man, folks.
Yeah.
Busy man.
So we on the weekends, it's Saturdays. We normally cooking sausage and pancakes. That's their jam that they like to do, and we go out there and either cook them on the little Blackstone outside or something like that. And she loves to bake, so I foresee her, like, really. She's very competitive too, so I foresee her getting in on it.
I love it. So stay tuned for the Food Network one day when you see Daniel and his daughter on there, rocking and rolling, taking names, just having a good time. And so you talked about this idea of family. You talked about this idea of giving back and just leaving a legacy that others can carry on. And I think that's really, really cool. So let's talk about, just as we wind down, let's talk about this whole idea of competition barbecue, right? A lot of people, they hear about it, they're like, I kind of want to get involved, but seriously though, let's get down to brass tacks. If somebody's thinking, okay, I want to try it out, I want to just give it a shot, what do they do? What do they need to do, in your opinion?
I think there's 2 avenues to that.
Okay.
I know you. It was a couple episodes ago that I forgot who you had on. They said just jump head foot, all the way in.
That's right. Yeah.
Just jump it in, and I think that's one way to do it. It depends on your personality.
Right.
I'm one of those that's I had to have a little bit more, I guess, security in that. So I would say go to a contest. If you're one of those people, go to a contest, walk around. I guarantee you somebody is going to, if you talk to them, they're going to take you under their wing. And then after that, you jump in head first. But I always say before you jump in head first, take a class. There's so many avenues out there. You have regular classes, and then you have the Barbecue League online.
Yep.
The Barbecue League, I can't say enough about that. I think that's made the level of the playing field, so to speak, for all of competition barbecue.
Now the Barbecue League, that is a offspring, so to speak, of Mr. Brad Leiniger.
That's right.
And Mr. Tim Shear.
That's right.
There you go. So we got Gateway Drum Smokers, we got Getting Basted himself, creating the Barbecue League to give back to the community of barbecue. And if that doesn't tell you about the power of community and the power of this barbecue nation, so to speak, then I don't know what does. So bottom line, get involved, come out, meet folks. That's what it's all about. Even if you don't want to barbecue, come say hi.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that serious. It's barbecue. Yes, we like to compete, but we also like to have a good time. So Daniel, before we wind down, how do the listeners, how do the viewers, how do they connect with you and your team?
You can find us online, Pop Smoke on the Hill. Barbecue team, check that out, or you can just add me directly, Daniel Patrick.
There you go.
You'll see a nice little picture of my daughter carrying a bucket. She's actually out in the field picking up tomatoes.
There you go.
That day. So we like to do that every year. But yeah, just add me, and whatever questions that you have, I'll be happy to answer. If I don't have an answer for them, I know somebody that will.
And for our listeners and viewers, we'll have all of that stuff in the show notes for you, so you can reference that later. Again, coming to you live with Daniel Patrick, pitmaster of Pop's Smoke on the Hill catering and competition team, Baxley, Georgia, Smoke Timber Fest, 32 pro teams. We've got 2 of the top 5 teams in the country here. That's right. So it's some stiff competition. We've got awards for the one meat rib cook-off coming up here in an hour, 7:30. So we'll be back. Let you know how those turned out.